Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news recap on everything going on in the world of video games. And if you think gaming and PC hardware are getting more expensive, more unstable, and more chaotic, you are not imagining it. This week we're looking at GPU prices that could hit used car levels, a permanent PS5 jailbreak, live service games collapsing in real time, major hacks still crippling AAA titles, and yet somehow a few rare bright spots for indie games and preservation. So, if you thought your PC component prices were bad in 2025, buckle up because they're about to get insane this year. Potentially, anyway. South Korean news agency Newsys claims that Nvidia and AMD are raising prices for their GPUs this year to offset the insane demand of their hardware for AI data centers. These price hikes will allegedly start this month from AMD and next month for Nvidia. There will also be further price increases over the course of the year. Eventually, an RTX 5090 from Nvidia could jump from $2,000 up to $5,000. And while the 5090 was already an astronomically expensive GPU for the average gamer, $5,000 puts it in a realm of sheer unattainability. The PlayStation 5 may have just crossed a major security threshold. In simple terms, the protections that prevent users from running their own software on the PlayStation 5 appear to have been permanently broken. At the center of this is the discovery of the console's ROM keys, essentially the master keys that control what code the system will accept and run. Once those keys are exposed, it becomes possible to execute exploits and custom code at a level that software or firmware updates can't fully reverse. And this is a fundamental break in the system's security model, not just a temporary vulnerability. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that players can immediately pirate and run any PlayStation 5 game. That typically takes time, tooling, and additional breakthroughs. What it does mean, though, is that the door is now wide open to custom firmware, homebrew applications, emulators, and eventually unauthorized game software, potentially at massive scale. Sony could address this in a future hardware revision by changing the underlying security keys, but that wouldn't help the tens of millions of PlayStation 5 consoles that are already in homes around the world. For those systems, this is a permanent situation and one that could have long-term consequences for the platform. Splitgate 2 Studio was hoping for a strong rebound, but the relaunch has not gone as planned. On December 17th, the team reintroduced the game as Splitgate Arena Reloaded, following what had been a rough launch earlier this year. The game struggled almost immediately after release as the developers moved away from the original game's simple Halo meets Portal arena shooter formula and added hero characters, special abilities, and a battle royale mode. Those changes, combined with aggressively priced cosmetics and a controversial marketing push, led to a rapid decline in players. Within just a few weeks, the player base dropped by roughly 80%. In a pretty wild response, the studio pulled the entire game back in a beta and announced a full relaunch. But so far, the results have not been encouraging. Arena Reloaded peaked at around 2,200 concurrent players on PC, and the number has since fallen below 400, raising serious questions about the game's long-term viability. The studio has already gone through 2 rounds of layoffs, and the idea of sustaining a live service shooter with fewer than 1,000 active PC players is extremely unlikely. We'll have to see what the future holds for Splitgate 2. Rainbow Six Siege servers are still recovering from a devastating hack that essentially gave hackers absolute control over the game. They used exploits to give all players billions of dollars of in-game currency, they unbanned players, they banned other players, and they gave out DLC items like developer-only skins that were never publicly available. Ubisoft's only course of action was to take the game servers offline and roll back everyone's account to a state prior to the hack. The problem is, the exploit that let the hackers in is still live, so key aspects of the game like authentication, the in-game store, and even matchmaking are either disabled or non-functional. It's unclear when the game will be fully restored. Fans of the indie publisher New Blood Interactive have a lot to look forward to this year. The devs just released a major update to their immersive sim FPS Gloomwood. It adds the Hightown District to the game, which is the largest and most vertical level yet. It also includes tons of new enemies and mechanics like being able to store the severed limbs of enemies in your inventory for future use. New Blood also released a trailer for the Episode 2 update of their other immersive sim, FPS Fallen Aces. They're adding a car players can drive around the levels while shooting, smoking, and probably drinking. Pretty fitting for a game that's essentially a massive parody of the 1950s detective noir fiction. It may not come as a surprise, but Arc Raiders was officially Steam's best-selling game over the holiday. According to Steam database, the top sellers between December 23rd and the 30th were Arc Raiders, The Steam Deck, Battlefield 6, Clair Obscur, and Baldur's Gate 3. That's incredibly impressive for Embark's second game, but it really begs the question, where is the ceiling for Arc Raiders? The game has retained 80% of its player base, which is incredibly impressive for a game that started off with a pretty big player base to begin with, and there's many exciting updates promised for this year. Retro gaming fans will be interested to hear that Witcher and Cyberpunk developer CD Projekt Red has sold GOG.com to one of the website's original co-founders. GOG was originally created in 2008 as a subsidiary of CD Projekt Red to help them distribute the games that they were localizing for Polish and international players, as well as their own in-house games like The Witcher. The site ballooned in popularity thanks to its DRM-free approach and extensive library of classic and rare titles. They're also known for updating and maintaining classic titles so they run properly on modern hardware. It appears that CD Projekt Red sold GOG so that the platform can focus more aggressively on preservation-oriented work like republishing older games stuck in rights limbo, without needing to justify those initiatives inside a profit-driven publisher. The sale also lets CD Projekt Red improve its financial profile while keeping GOG independent, and CD Projekt Red has committed to releasing its games on the storefront following the deal. Tabletop Simulator is a PC sandbox game that lets players digitally recreate and play almost any tabletop game imaginable. It's grown in popularity, however, the simulator may be taking a significant risk with its upcoming 2.0 update. The update plans to overhaul the game's interface to make it more friendly for Steam Deck users, and it introduces separate play and edit modes designed to make jumping into custom-made games much easier. And on the surface, those changes sound fantastic. The bigger issue is that the update also introduces a creator marketplace, allowing players to sell in-game experiences and mods, including paid versions of tabletop games. Up until now, Tabletop Simulator has largely flown under the legal radar. While many of the games recreated inside the indie platform are based on real copyrighted tabletop games, those mods have been typically shared for free. In practice, if a tabletop game exists in the real world, someone has probably built a playable version of it in Tabletop Simulator. But introducing those paid mods changes the equation. If creators begin selling close replicas of well-known games, or if major right holders take a closer look at what's being created and monetized, it could put Tabletop Simulator in a very difficult legal position. Anthem servers are officially shutting down very soon. The failed Destiny-like hero-based shooter stumbled out of the gate in early 2019 and never recovered, leading to an almost immediate shutdown of future updates and content. This of course made huge waves considering the budget and marketing for this game was absolutely massive. But despite the game's failure, its servers remained online. However, that ends on January 12th. Obviously, this probably isn't going to devastate too many gamers out there, but it does represent another issue or failure of the industry to preserve its own legacy. The developers haven't announced any plans to let players continue playing Anthem offline following the server shutdown, so all that will really remain of the game is probably video evidence hosted on YouTube. Now, before you go today, check out this video on my Year 2 devlog summary for C-Beams. This basically quantifies all the work that we accomplished in a single year of game development, and I think it's really interesting just to see how much work goes into building up the foundational tech of a game. I think you guys will like it. Check out the video here, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.